All right, today we're jumping into a really big deal in the world of blood cancer treatment. There's a new drug out there called Pirtobrutinib. We're going to break it all down: what it is, the super smart science behind it, and why it's such a game changer for folks who felt like they were running out of road. So let's dive right in.
So let's talk about something really tough. What happens when cancer treatments just stop working? A patient with something like lymphoma or leukemia goes through all the treatment, and for a while it's great. But then the cancer either returns or just becomes stubborn and stops responding. This is what doctors call relapsed or refractory cancer. And when that happens, you're desperately looking for a new game plan. And that's exactly where this new drug comes into the picture.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the new treatment frontier, then get into its specific target, a thing called Bruton tyrosine kinase. We'll introduce the drug itself, Pirtobrutinib, and then cover the really cool part: how it works differently from what came before. After that, we'll look at the safety side of things and wrap it all up with a big takeaway for patients. All right, Section 1, a new treatment frontier. The big thing to get right away is that Pirtobrutinib is not a first-line treatment. Not at all. It was engineered for that exact moment we just discussed, when a patient's B-cell cancer has come back or dug its heels in after they've already been through at least 2 other lines of therapy. It's the new play in the book for when the old plays just aren't working anymore. Okay, moving on to its target, Bruton tyrosine kinase, which is basically the off switch for these cancer cells. To really get this, we've got to shrink way, way down to the molecular level. See, a lot of modern cancer treatment is like being a sniper instead of dropping a bomb. It's all about finding one tiny critical piece of the cancer cell's engine and just flicking the off switch. And Pirtobrutinib, it is a masterclass in this approach. Its target is a little protein called Bruton tyrosine kinase, or BTK for short. So, what exactly is this BTK? Well, you can think of it like a go switch inside your B cells. In healthy cells, it does its job, telling them when to activate. But in cancerous B cells, that switch gets jammed in the on position. It's just screaming, grow, multiply, nonstop. So you can see why a drug that can sneak in there and block that signal, what we call a BTK inhibitor, would be so powerful. It's literally a way to shut down the cancer's growth engine.
And the whole strategy is honestly brilliantly simple. Step 1, you've got this faulty BTK sending out a nonstop grow signal. Step 2, the BTK inhibitor drug steps in and blocks that signal. And the result? Malignant B-cell growth gets stopped in its tracks. Simple, right? So now let's meet the new drug that does this. And here we are, introducing Pirtobrutinib, which you might also hear called by its brand name, Jaypirca. This is a tablet you can take by mouth, and it's gotten the green light, an accelerated approval actually, from the FDA because the clinical trial results look so promising. So the big question is, who is this drug for exactly? Yeah, and the approvals are super specific. This isn't for everyone. It's for adults with relapsed or refractory mantle cell lymphoma, but only after they've been through at least 2 other lines of therapy, and one of those has to be a different BTK inhibitor. It's also approved for folks with CLL or SLL, again, after they've tried at least 2 other treatments, including both a BTK inhibitor and another type of drug called a BCL2 inhibitor. See the pattern here? The whole point is that this drug is designed to work when the cancer has already figured out how to outsmart the existing options.
So practically speaking, what does it look like? Well, it comes in little 50 and 100 milligram tablets. The typical starting dose is 200 milligrams, just once a day. Of course, doctors can and will adjust that dose if needed, maybe for someone's kidney function or to get a handle on any side effects. Okay, now for the really cool part, how it works differently. You'll hear Pirtobrutinib called a third-generation inhibitor. And that's because while it's not the first drug to go after BTK, its design is a massive step up. The whole secret is in how it binds to that BTK protein. It's a tiny difference that makes all the difference and allows it to succeed where older drugs have failed. Okay, check this out. This is the key. Older BTK inhibitors, like ibrutinib, use what's called covalent binding. Think of it like superglue. They're designed to stick permanently to one very specific spot on the BTK protein, a spot called the C481 site, and they never let go. The problem? Cancer's sneaky. It can change or mutate that one little spot. And once it does, the superglue has nowhere to stick. The drug is toast. But Pirtobrutinib, it's way smarter. It uses non-covalent or reversible binding. This is more like a powerful magnet. It clamps on tight, but it doesn't need that one perfect C481 spot to do its job. So even if the cancer cell mutates to try and escape, Pirtobrutinib can still grab on and shut it down. It's an incredible workaround.
Naturally, with a drug this powerful, we have to talk about the other side of the equation, safety. So let's dive into understanding the safety profile. The data from the trials gives us a really good look at the potential side effects, so doctors and patients can have an honest conversation about the benefits versus the risks. So one of the main things doctors watch for is how it affects the liver. Looking at the trial data, you can see that about 23%, so roughly 1 in 4 patients, had some kind of elevation in their liver enzymes. But, and this is a big but, a serious elevation, one that's more than 5 times the normal level, was way, way less common. We're talking only 2 to 3% of patients. So yes, it's something to monitor, for sure, but severe liver problems were not common. And besides the liver, there are a few other serious things to be aware of. The list includes things like severe infections, bleeding problems, irregular heartbeats or cardiac arrhythmias, something called febrile neutropenia, which is a fever when your white blood cell count is low, and even a risk of developing other cancers down the line. It's definitely a list that shows why being under close medical care while on this drug is so important. So, what's the big takeaway for patients? It really boils down to this. Active management is key. To make sure this drug works as well and as safely as it can, you have to stay on top of things with careful, consistent monitoring. The research points to 3 really crucial steps. First up, before even starting the therapy, patients need to be screened for hepatitis B virus. That's because these types of inhibitors can sometimes wake up dormant viruses. Second, just as we discussed, regular blood tests to keep a close eye on those liver enzymes are a must. And third, and this might be the most important of all, is keeping an open, honest line of communication with your doctor. Any new symptoms, anything that feels off, you've got to report it right away. When you look at a drug like Pirtobrutinib, it's really a fantastic example of science playing chess with cancer and winning. It's not just about hitting a target anymore. It's about predicting how the cancer will try to escape and building the answer right into the drug. It's pretty amazing. And it leaves you wondering, right, as we create more and more of these smarter, more targeted drugs, what does the future of cancer therapy even look like? It's an exciting thing to think about. Thanks so much for tuning in.